Hello listeners and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing the show Dare Me. We follow the cheerleaders of Sutton Grove High School and how their lives change when the new coach Colette French starts pushing them to their limits. Relationships crumble, loyalties are flipped, and secrets are kept. Dare Me is a thriller series released in 2019 that consists of 10 episodes and is available on Netflix. Dare Me mainly follows Colette, the new coach, and Addy and Beth, two best friends. When a new coach is assigned to the cheer squad at Sutton Grove, the dynamics of the girls immediately starts to change, especially between the two best friends, Addy and Beth. When the two best friends find out Colette's secret, the girls are then left in a very unique position. What happens when both of the girls disagree on what to do about it? And how will Colette react knowing the girls know her secret? Before we start, I just want to let you know that this show is quite heavy and deals with some deep topics. We will be talking about some of these topics as the show highly revolves around them, so if any of these topics you find disturbing or bother you, please look up the trigger warnings from the show. First, let's talk about characters and their stories. I want to talk about Will, who many of you may recognize as Matt from the Vampire Diaries. Will plays a very minor but significant role in the series. I wanted to touch on his character first and a little bit about him, whereas the rest of his story will come into focus and make sense as I talk about the other characters. But to start, the important things that we need to know about Will. Will is a sergeant for the army and is currently at the school as a recruiter, looking for young teens to sign up just as he did. Will has a very sad story, and we find that he is a very troubled character as he had a pregnant wife that died in a car accident while he was away on duty. Never fully recovering from this, Will is constantly stuck living in the past, always referring to how leaving with the army caused him to feel as though his life left him behind. This kept him emotionally vulnerable and troubled, unable to move forward. This then led to him having an unhealthy obsession with a certain someone. Colette, the new coach. We first meet her and she is this beautiful, young, aspiring new coach, motivating the team to achieve higher goals such as regionals. She allows squad members to have the spotlight and gets the squad working as a team and not just individuals. She is represented as being strong and powerful and having good and professional morals, as we come to find that she is a wife and a mother. Seeming as though she is the picture-perfect person, that is until we learn her secret, that she is having an affair with Will. Here's me thinking we'll have another Coach Taylor on our hands. But not at all as so it would seem. First we'll talk about Will and Colette's history. Now they knew each other from high school but never actually dated. They saw each other after she moved back to town, and that's how the affair started, as he was a comfort and understood her as well as a distraction from her real life and responsibilities. That is until Will's unexpected death. Is she the villain or is she just misunderstood? When we first meet Coach, she is portrayed as this picture-perfect mother and wife, till we see her cheating with Will. And it doesn't just stop there. We come to see how she may have good morals professionally, but not personally. What I mean by this is that she holds a very manipulative and controlling nature when it comes to the people around her. Like her husband. Her manipulative nature mainly shines through when she's interacting with her husband. Some examples would include the only reason her husband got a promotion, he made the move, is because his boss is also a booster for the school and wanted Colette to be the coach for the team. Colette knew this the whole time but didn't tell her husband until they had already moved and settled in. There was even a chance that she may never have told him. She lets the cheer squad come to her place after practice to let loose. Usually this wouldn't seem like such a big deal, but she seems to be having them over every afternoon until late, making her husband come home to a loud, messy house every night. She does this as a way to avoid talking to her husband, as well as avoiding her other responsibilities. The last and probably most worst of all would be her continuous cheating on her husband. Despite how her husband sticks by her, Colette continues to cheat on her husband with Will. She ends up getting carried away and forgets to pick up her daughter. Of course, her husband finds out about what happened and is extremely upset. Instead of her admitting that she was wrong, instead she finds a way to throw it back onto her husband and make it his fault.
You just forgot?
Their schedule was different. So yeah, and I was distracted with work. Have you ever picked her up? I mean, we both have a job.
Are you kidding me? We have different hours.
And your job is more important than mine because you put on a tie and you carry a briefcase.
She even pulls a Julie Taylor to get herself out of a lie, just as Julie Taylor did in Friday Night Lights, so they could avoid having a tough conversation. And another way of avoiding talking to her husband. Her fixation with Addy and her dislike for Beth. Colette immediately takes a liking to Addy, most likely due to the fact that she didn't rat out her secret about Will and instead encouraged it. Coach starts to feel as though she has a special bond with Addy and starts to make her feel special and pay her extra attention. She makes her feel as though she is a friend and starts to give her bigger parts in the squad's routines. She does all this while still finding a way to keep Addy and everyone else at arm's length. She likes having Addy caught up in her lies and secrets while still keeping herself a mystery. The closer Colette gets to Addy, the more she starts manipulating her views and opinions. She gets Addy distancing herself from the other girls, especially her best friend Beth. Colette seems to have some sort of jealousy or dislike when it comes to Addy and Beth's friendship. She is constantly trying to turn Addy against Beth.
You know the truth. I know what's happening here. This is Beth. She has you brainwashed, and she always has. You need to grow up and cut her loose.
She makes Addy feel like them sharing secrets is important and the right choice. Colette always seems to talk about being a squad and sticking together. Never take your eye off your girl, as she would say. But when things get hard, she never really takes care of her girls. Thinking she's going to step up and be someone like Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights, which is basically a show about a coach that goes above and beyond for the football players of his team. Colette, however, did not show support at all when it came to the girls' personal lives being hard and needing help. When Beth gets wasted at a party one night, Addy thinks that she can count on Coach for help, but when she gives her a call, Coach has no concern or sympathy for the girls, especially Beth.
Hey, are you her friend? So be her friend. Fix it. Hamlin, the bitch is your problem.
She takes them in for the night, but makes Addy feel guilty about it afterwards. Zero reaction to Will's death. Will's death occurs at the end of episode 7, when Addy gets a late night phone call from Colette asking for help. What she finds changes everything. When Addy arrives and sees the body, Colette immediately goes into overdrive and starts to arrange the place to seem as if they were never there. Addy, still in shock, goes along. From her very first impression, she seems like the picture-perfect coach and wife, but after everything we've discussed, do you still think she is a villain or just misunderstood? Now, at one point, Colette does have a short meltdown over Will's death, but other than that, she shows no real remorse or grief over him. With their history and current relationship, you would think that she would be more affected. It's easy to see how she takes control and manipulates herself throughout and around a situation, like involving Addy in Will's death. She likes having secrets and this mysterious aura about her. Plus, there are just so many questions involving her connection to Will's death. Next we have Addy. I feel like Addy is our main character, as everything seems to either revolve around her or because of her. Is Addy a bad person or just misled? First, let's talk about how it started. When we first meet Addy, she seems as though she is very close with Beth, best friend. They are both on the same cheer squad together. Addy is immediately mesmerized and inspired by the new coach and finds it nice when Coach starts taking a special interest in her. Before long, without realizing it, she starts to lie and toss the people she cares about aside, like her mum and best friend Beth. Addy begins to change and starts encouraging Coach's affair by becoming the babysitter, as she believes it is this magical love story. Addy and Coach's bond. Like I said, Addy immediately looks up to Coach, and Coach has a way of singling Addy out and making her feel special. Because of her closeness with Coach, when she finds out about her secret, Addy won't let Beth tell about Coach's secret. Coach then encourages this by making it seem her affair is different and special.
Me and him, it's not like that.
The more time Addy spends with Coach, the more she finds herself pulling away from others, especially her best friend Beth. Things only start to get worse because just when Addy thinks that she can count on Coach, she is immediately pulled into Will's death and is now having to keep this big secret. The case of Will's death gets bigger and bigger every day, while Addy is finding it harder and harder to deal with what she knows. The stressor affects her that much that at one point she even ends up fainting. We find out that Addy's mum is a cop and is working on the case. Addy wants to tell her mum everything when things start to get too much, but Coach manipulates her into not telling and making her feel scared and guilty like they did something wrong, but then continues to show no support for Addy and her struggles. Instead, she makes her feel worse, like singling her out in front of everybody, and only talks to Addy when she is forced to. There are a few signs of Coach's manipulative nature, but Addy doesn't yet see the bigger picture until it's too late. Addy's neglect of Beth. Beth and Addy start out as close friends. They seem to have a bond that is special, and Addy can seem to calm Beth down in a way no one else can. This close bond between them, however, starts to slip when the new coach arrives. When the girls first find out about Coach's secret, Beth gets a video. Unsure of whether or not she has it, Addy immediately hounds Beth to not show anyone and erase the video. Beth swears that the video does not exist, but Addy has a hard time believing her. Addy starts to display distrust when it comes to their friendship by stealing Beth's phone and lying about it. She stops checking in with Beth. At one point during the series, Beth seems off. Addy does seem to notice this and asks about it, but then never really follows up. She not only starts to lie to Beth more and more, but she even starts to lose track of those lies.
But you mean the bracelet that I gave to you and that you gave to her? I didn't. Lies, Addy, you can't even keep track of them.
She stops prioritizing Beth and their friendship, like forgetting to hang out. Comes to a point where she completely pushes Beth away.
Addy, how come you never choose me? Just tell me the truth for once in your life. What is it about her? What does she have that I don't? She isn't you.
So from everything we've discussed, do you think Addy is bad or just misread? When we first meet Addy, she starts out as good, but slowly as things progress, she loses herself and her values. A lot of these changes do come down to Coach and her manipulation of Addy, and the foggier the truth gets, the more she pushes away from Beth. Addy starts to lose not only friendships but also herself, and by the end of it, she is left with no support from Beth or Coach. I don't think Addy is a bad person, as a lot of the manipulation came from Coach, an adult she looked up to and was supposed to protect her. However, she does still need to take ownership for her wrongdoings, like encouraging an affair and a lying, as well as pulling away from her family and best friend. Addy definitely goes through a lot of changes through the season and unfortunately is left not doing so well. Next, let's talk about Beth. Beth is best friends with Addy and is dedicated to cheer. She is the team captain and the squad's top girl. Beth and Coach. Beth and Coach seem to have an immediate power struggle towards one another. Once Beth finds out about Coach's secret, she knows that she has the upper hand and lies to Addy about having the video. Beth now knows that Coach disguises herself as this picture-perfect person, but is secretly not as good as she cracks up to be, therefore sets an immediate dislike and doesn't trust Coach. Beth tries to have as little to do with Coach as possible. When the squad starts to hang out at Coach's place after breakfast, Beth doesn't go. Instead, she spends time by herself or with her mom. Other reasons Beth doesn't like Coach is due to her connection with Addy. Beth doesn't trust Coach and doesn't like that Addy is spending a lot of time with her.
Is that what you're gonna do? Or are you gonna have a slumber party powwow with Coach Colette French?
She also feels Addy pulling away from her because of Coach. Coach deliberately finds a way of singling Beth out in front of the squad and challenging her with her sister Casey. and she knows that there is a lot more to the story when it comes to Coach and her involvement in Will's death. Beth's family. At first glance, Beth seems like your typical teen troublemaker, but you find out that she has a lot more going on. She has no real family or support. Beth's mother is a drunk and a pushover when it comes to their father. She wants Beth to forgive and forget all that her father has done, as well as even suck up to her father, just so they can continue to live off of his money. Due to the fact that she is always drunk and dazed, she takes very little notice in Beth's life and struggles, therefore offering her no comfort or support. Beth's father. Beth's father is a very rich and well-respected businessman within the town. He cheated on Beth's mother with the woman next door and had a second family. He continues to live across the street from Beth and her mom. Even though he does deeply care for Beth,
Never knew I had so many feelings until I had them.
Suddenly they're there, and you do anything for them.
Things we do for them to make up for the things we do to them.
Who's ready?
he is still a terrible father. Beth's sister Casey. Casey is Beth's half-sister. At first I had sympathy when it came to Casey, as Beth is not only the older sister but captain of the squad. She gets the squad to gang up on Casey. Although what they do is wrong, you grow less sympathy the more you get to know Casey and her attitude. She has a big mouth on her and is quite stuck up.
No one's gonna notice you at regionals, you know that, right? Queen Bee's back on top, and you're still her bottom bitch. My dad's just really proud of me. I'm the only freshman in America to make Top Girl her first year on squad.
She purposely tries to challenge and one-up Beth. At one point, she sees Beth pull off a special move. Casey ends up getting jealous and tries to pull off this move that she is not ready for in the middle of a pep rally, and someone else pays the price. She continuously overshadows Beth. Beth just wants things to go back to the way they were and be a family again. But every time she gets close to having a family, Casey always seems to overshadow her, pull her away from her father. Casey always seems to find a way to make herself the victim and blames everything on Beth. She never takes responsibility for what she does.
And she was relentless.
Oh, I think people should be responsible for their choices.
We just want to understand what led you to act out in this way.
Act? I never laid a hand on her.
She never laid a hand on you?
I nearly drowned. She made me with her mind.
It was a competition. She chose to participate. This is really about accountability.
Once getting to know Casey for a bit, come to not like her much and have little to no sympathy for her. Beth and Addy's relationship. Beth and Addy start out as best friends. Beth finds comfort in Addy and the support she needs within their friendship. However, their dynamic starts to change when Coach comes into the mix. The closer Addy becomes to Coach, the more Beth notices Addy pulling away and lying to her. Like when she noticed Addy gave Coach her friendship bracelet.
Where is your Hamza? What is it with you and this fucking bracelet? You mean the bracelet that I gave to you? And that you gave to her?
Addy still pulls away from Beth even when she's the one that makes the plans.
Let's hang out when you get back.
Just you and me?
Just you and me.
Addy asks Beth to make plans, but then ditches her to hang out with Coach, therefore missing Beth's struggles and panic attack, leaving Beth without any help or support. Whenever Beth tries to ask Addy about it, she lies. Despite everything she tries, Beth still feels neglected by Addy, yet is still willing to do what she can to protect her. Beth's own struggles. Even though throughout the show, I feel as though they angle as Beth being the villain, mostly due to the fact that we view the show from Addy's perspective and she is being manipulated by Coach, who seems to have a high dislike for Beth. However, when you come to look at it, you see that Beth actually goes through a lot on this show and still comes out strong on the other side. Beth, however, is not perfect. She still lies to Addy and uses sex and drinking as a way to cope. Surprisingly, the only one that seems to notice Beth's struggles is Will.
I mean, you've seen those little skirts that she wears? What did she think was gonna happen? Doesn't she know the rules?
That's not what I meant at all. I meant that she's a kid and she doesn't know that she's a kid. That's all I meant.
Beth deals with hardships from not only Coach, but Casey, her sister. Coach is always trying to undermine Beth and her skills by challenging her with her sister, by giving Casey Beth's parts in the squad's performances, and making her a spotter to where she gets hurt, yet still finds a way to push through. Beth's sexual assault and no help. One night, the girls of the squad go to a party with some of the soldiers that have been scouting out the high school. Whilst there, things get carried away and Beth is drugged and sexually assaulted by Curtis, one of the soldiers she was sort of seeing beforehand. Addy takes her to Coach, but Beth doesn't feel safe there, and therefore is afraid to tell Addy what happened the night before. Addy suspects that something is up, but only Beth knows what happened. Beth, living by her motto, pics or it didn't happen, she takes pictures of her scars from the assault. Due to having photographic evidence of what happens, she uses this to stand up to Curtis, the soldier that assaulted her, letting him know that she does remember what happened and that she has proof. Even though she has stood up to Curtis and knows that she has the upper hand on him, things are still not over and she is still really struggling with it. She makes subtle hints to Addy that something is wrong, but Addy just can't seem to see it or understand what she's trying to tell her. Like when she tries telling Addy about a dream where she is falling, but Addy's not the one that catches her. Overall, poor Beth is feeling very unseen and alone. Beth's investigation into Will. Because Beth knew about Will and Coach's affair, she is stunned when he turns up dead and gets even more suspicious about the way Coach reacts. Or more accurately, lack of reaction. Beth also realizes that Addy is acting strange and suspicious towards the subjects, therefore her to do her own investigation. While talking to Addy's mum, Beth finds out that Addy lied about them being together, therefore lying to her mum about them hanging out so that Addy can spend time with Coach. This is where she learns about Will's wife and how she died. Beth ends up going to the building the death took place in to see if she can find answers about what happened. She was able to get into the room where it happened and have a look at the crime scene. Because of everything that had happened with Will, the kids have a party to forget and let loose a bit. Addy gets drunk, and while Beth is taking care of her, Addy lets it slip that she knew Will was shot in the mouth and not in the head. Then, when talking to a friend at school the next day, she also confirms that the police have the same information. Lastly, the hamster bracelet. Beth knows Addy gave her bracelet to Coach. She also knows that both Addy and Coach don't have it and that it has just shown up at the crime scene, proving to Beth that Addy was not only there that night somehow, but she is also lying about it.
Somehow, you were there.
No, I wasn't.
We'll see what she says when the detectives ask about the bracelet. Your bracelet, the one that they found at the crime scene.
What? How could you possibly fucking know that, Beth?
What I liked about the show. Although the show was very heavy and shines on a lot of harsh topics, as well as following characters that aren't always likable, there were still a lot of things to like about the show. I think it's safe to say that Beth was my favorite character. She goes through a lot with little to no support and still finds a way to push through and come out strong. She has tremendous courage and strength, particularly when standing up to Curtis. After going through something like that, it is hard to pick yourself back up, let alone face the person that also did it. It takes a lot of strength for someone to do that, especially a 16, 17-year-old like she is. She has great resilience because no matter what she went through with Curtis or her crumbling relationship with Addy, she always finds a way to put on a brave face, power through, and never lets down her squad. So by the end of it, I come to really like and respect Beth. I liked episode 5 and how it was structured. Episode 5 is the episode of the pep rally where the girls celebrate them getting into regionals. This episode took place in a different format to the rest of them. It takes place showing the aftermath of a gruesome event. The episode then flips back and we watch 3 different perspectives, Coach, Addy, and Beth's, leading up to the event. I found the structure of the episode to be unique and engaging and mysterious as you were waiting to see how all 3 stories were going to play out. the girls' routines. Another thing I really liked about the show is that we got to see the girls on the squad do routines. Not only did we get to see the girls on the squad's performances, but also workout and practices. It was enjoyable to watch and cool watching the girls show off their skills. It was a nice refresher from all the other harsh topics that were happening in the show. It opened some perspective and brought it back to how these are just teen girls on a cheer squad. Burning questions. Unfortunately, the show has not been renewed for a second season, so we may never get the answers to all of our questions, but that doesn't stop us from asking them. Like, how did Beth know about the police finding Addy's hamster bracelet at the crime scene? Why did Coach call Addy and get her to come to the crime scene? Why was Coach's hair wet? Why did Curtis and Will get into a fight? Was Coach with Will before it happened? How long? And what were they doing? How does Coach's husband tie into all of it? Why was he there? Did he know about the affair between his wife and Will? If so, for how long? Did he know the whole time that Coach was cheating? If so, why let it happen? Did he kill Will because of the affair? Or was Colette's affair with Will part of a bigger plan all along? If so, what? So many questions and unfortunately no answers. Let me know what some of your burning questions and theories are. Did you have a favorite character? Who did you think was the villain and who was misunderstood? Or what were some of your overall thoughts and opinions about the show? That is all for this episode. As always, everything we discussed will be linked below along with my socials. Please be sure to like, subscribe and follow. Feel free to leave all your thoughts and comments below. Thanks for listening.